Art's Place to go live shortly. Alrighty.
Welcome to Art's Place, conservative talk from a different view. From the Casablanca studio in Golden, Colorado. Hosted by Art Carlson. At 4'6", liberals fear him, and conservatives love him. He's definitely a giant among men. Now, here's your host, Art Carlson.
Hey, welcome to Art's Place. We got a great show for you today. We're going to talk about, well, what's hot in the news is the Florida school shooting. Sadly, we're going to talk about that. That seems to be the hot topic here. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time. We're just going to go over a few things. Rather than beat it to death, we'll talk about it. Would more gun laws prevent something like this? Who's really at fault for this? And also, I want to talk about some of the dumb things in the Olympics, especially to Shaun White. We'll talk about that soon. Hey, welcome to the new improved show. We got better lighting so you can see my pretty mug. I got my Art Place t-shirt on. Maybe later down the road there'll be merchandise I could sell to kind of promote the show. I've got a hat that I could sell. Maybe we'll work on improving the logo and make it pop out a little better. Also today we will talk a little drone news. Some of my other viewers have asked me a little bit about my my drone hobby slash business. We'll talk about that a little later as well. Alright, let's jump back into it. Let's talk about the Florida high school shooting down in Broward County. The one observation I have on this, we know more about the shooter in this case than we do about the Las Vegas shooter. We don't know anything or very little about the shooter in Las Vegas. There's no trail. So that's a whole nother story as well. Also, the big thing that's glaring out at me, who really failed us, was the FBI, because they knew about this guy, a month ago, maybe even further than that, and they did nothing. I guess they were too busy trying to find collusion between the Russians and Donald Trump. They were just too busy with that because they gotta, do something to topple a sitting president that was fairly elected just because he's not popular by the left. So maybe there needs to be an overhaul at the FBI and possibly the CIA. We gotta make it so that those two departments are less political. Because now what's happening, whoever is in control at the White House, or in control in the House and Senate, they're using this as a tool to discredit a candidate for president. All right, we got some a lot of people here. Oh, we got one from the Philippines, Dorothy. Welcome to the show, Bradley. Good to see you, Bradley. Love that mug you sent me. Renee, David, Debbie, Ed and Ed, Dawn and Gerald. Okay, we got a good crowd here. Scott Patterson. So, the FBI dropped the ball on this in a major way. I mean, one of the other things that could have helped out was it shouldn't have fallen just on the FBI. Each state has their own Bureau of Investigation. Now, why didn't the Florida Bureau of Investigation, why didn't they do something about this? Also, you know, this person is young. He doesn't really have a record other than he's been expelled from school. He has been violent at school, but just not really enough to, I guess, warrant an in-depth search on. Although he made some purchases, although he did get them legally, there was nothing illegal he did about purchasing those weapons. However, here's the one thing that a lot of the gun grabbers like to point out is that he purchased an AR-15. And most of the big mass shootings were used with an AR-15. So now the gun grabbers we need to get these evil guns off the street. The only thing that's evil about them is the way they look. They look militaristic. But a lot of people shoot these because they're fun to shoot. I've shot one many times. I've gone target shooting. They're great if you're a rancher and you want to take care of varmints out there to protect your cattle, such as coyotes and prairie dogs too. Boy, they're great on prairie dogs and badgers too. So if you think about these mass shootings, I mean, you compare them to all the shootings, they are just a tiny, tiny percentage of all the shootings. Now, I know anybody, any kids getting killed in schools is a bad thing. And what can we do to stop it? Really, I think it's how kids are brought up today. Back when I was a child, and some of these friends of mine they know me way back in high school and junior high. I'm just a little person. I have a disability. I use crutches to get around on. And I've been bullied. And back then, there was no special deal where those bullies are taken care of, where they're removed from the schools or disciplined or anything like that. they here's what the teachers or the principal always told me. They just say, Art, they're just trying to get a rise out of you. Don't give in to them and they will leave you alone. Well, sure enough, when I just stopped trying to beat up these guys and just kind of laugh back at them and just say, oh, you want to pick on a little person? Yeah, that's really growing up. And then after a while, when they see that they can't push your buttons, so to say, they say, wow, this guy's no fun. They move on either to the next one or they finally just stop being an a-hole. So that's how I dealt with it. And they also, the principal and the teachers would say, suck it up. It's part of life. And that's what's wrong these days. Now these kids are, they're coddled with their egos. You gotta make sure their self-esteem isn't hurt. We gotta shelter them from anything that might hurt them. So they don't know what the real world is like out there. They can't deal with anything that really conflicts with them. They don't know how to deal with big things. And now it turns out this guy had a beef over a guy that was dating his ex-girlfriend. And evidently this guy, Cruz, abused his girlfriend, and that's probably one of the things, if not the thing, that led to their breakup. So, I've been in relationships in high school, and when some of those didn't go well, yeah, I felt hurt, but I never felt like killing anybody. So I think it's the way we're raising our kids now, because this kind of stuff never happened back in the 60s and 70s when I was a kid. And guns were much easier to get back then than they are today. Because back then you could get a gun at a hardware store if you wanted to. And you didn't have to sign any forms. You just go up and say, yeah, I'd like to buy that. And you look down and you paid for it and you left. And, I mean, you want to hear a really scary story? When my dad was a kid, he grew up during the Depression. And back then, you could go to the hardware store, and they had a wooden barrel full of black powder. And if you wanted black powder, say you wanted to remove a stump on your property, you get some black powder and blow it out of there. Go down to the hardware store and you say, yeah, I need a pound or two of black powder, and they get the scoop and they'd fill up a paper bag and you were off on your way. You could buy fuse there. I don't know if you could get detonators, but that was probably a little more for mining and demolition back then. But boy, also when my dad was a little kid, my grandparents, they gave him a Civil War, what did they give him? They gave him a couple rifles. One of them was a Civil War breech-loading, not a breech-loading rifle, but that was one of them. One of them was a muzzle-loading rifle. and it shot, I think, a 45 caliber round. They both shot 45 caliber, but the other one was a breech loading. I think it was a Springfield, and it took a cartridge, and that was when cartridge rounds were just coming on to the scene. And my dad reloaded his own ammunition. You get the 45, 70 brass cartridge or spent shells, and he had a mold that he'd make his own bullets, he'd cast them, and put, I think he had a powder horn where he would get, he would measure out how much black powder to put inside the shell, and then you had a primer on the back that you had to stick in, and then it was what they call a trapdoor Springfield, where you opened up the breech this way, you stuck the cartridge in, closed it, and you were ready to go. They gave him that, but they wouldn't give him a 22 rifle that shot a 22 long or a 22 short. They wouldn't give him that. They said that was too dangerous. But today you have to go through a background check when you purchase a pistol or a rifle. You have to fill out a form, and that form goes to, I think, several different agencies. They probably take you through the local department, the sheriff's department, and then they go through the State Bureau of Investigation. Then they go through the FBI, and they go through that, and if it's not flagged and there's no problem, you just wait a few minutes and you get your weapon, and then you, or firearm, and then you go home. Well, this kid had no record, no felonies, nothing to prevent him from getting a gun. Now, he did have some mental issues, but here's the tricky part. How do you perform an on-the-spot mental evaluation when someone wants to purchase a firearm? How do you do that? I mean, other than if there's any, here's where the HIPAA laws can really screw up the FBI and all those departments, is because those are your mental records. Say you've been committed to an institution for an evaluation. Those are covered by HIPAA, and they can't be shared with those departments. But if you have a law that allows those departments to look at those records, then you open up another can of worms, and you got the ACLU and the civil rights people all saying, oh, you can't do that because that's confidential information. You can't do that. So, you got an issue with that, too. Sorry, just checking my time on it. If I sound a little hoarse today, I'm kind of fighting, I don't know if it's a cold or maybe an allergy. I just feel tired today. Plus I have a tooth that's giving me fits, and I'm going to have that taken care of tomorrow. getting back to the school shooting. Now, will another gun law stop something like this from happening? I don't think so. I mean, we've got a whole bunch of laws on the book. Heck, murder is still illegal, but people still do it. I mean, it's like right after this shooting, sure enough, like clockwork, people were all shouting, "We need more gun laws," and blah. We need to do something to stop this. And I would ask a simple question like, okay, say we do this, and what do we do when the next shooting happens? Then what? How did that law prevent that shooting? And then all of a sudden, I'm the evil person, and blah, blah, blah. And there's something wrong with me. I'm just asking a legitimate question. Just trying to, shed the light on this. That, it's, I mean, you're all fired up. You want to do something about it. You want to do something to stop the next one. And then they bring up something like, well, Australia, they have very tough gun laws. But you're mixing apples to oranges. There are only 20 million people in Australia. In the United States, is 320 million. And it's a huge discrepancy. And also, the cultures are different, too. Excuse me. And you got cultures, and you got, it's just so many little things going on. Excuse me. And then they try to compare European countries. Well, those countries' populations are even smaller. And they also had a different culture than we do here. Because their government is set up differently than ours, where we have more rights here, and people are more responsible for their actions. Where in Europe and Australia, they don't have a constitution like the United States that guarantees the right to bear arms. So it makes it a lot easier for those countries to enact laws like that. And then also, if you, I just saw an interesting video earlier today comparing Australia to, I think it was like 10 of the states with the least restrictive gun laws here in the United States, and they show that their death rates are very similar. So you got these 10 states that have the least restrictive gun laws, and they have the smallest homicide rates per 100,000. That is comparable to Australia, which has a very tight gun laws, and their homicide rate per 100,000 is the same. So I thought that was very interesting there as well. And plus, here in the United States, as the country was growing and moving westward, more people were dealing with situations where there was no government out there. They had to protect their property, so they had their firearms with them to protect their family and their possessions. So you have a culture that way too, where in Australia, where a lot of the country is very inhospitable, that's why you don't see any major cities inland, because it's very hot, very dry. There's nothing there. But along the coast, you might see some fairly good sized cities off the coast, but not very far inland. And they didn't have problems of different Indian tribes like we had to. Some were friendly to the white man, and some were very hostile. So it all depends on what tribes you were dealing with. Many of them had dealings with earlier settlers, so they already had very good relations. And they had trade, trading with them. So they already knew how to deal with the white man and so forth. So you have two different cultures. Oh, and then somebody talked about Japan. Well, Japan is different because you have one race there. Where the United States, we've got people from all over the world. And in Japan, you have a culture that's based on discipline and what's expected from you. Now, they don't have a very high murder rate or murder rate with guns, or gun laws are pretty restrictive there as well. However, they've got one of the highest suicide rates in the world because their culture is very, how do I want to say this? They're very oriented on what is expected of the person. The family structure. Who provides for the family. There are a lot of kids that sadly commit suicide because their grades didn't measure up to what their parents' expectations were. The parents were probably very tough on them, and it built up pressure on that student, and he just did himself in. Same with the husband who works very hard to provide for his family, finds out he lost his job, and he's having a hard time looking for another job. He commits suicide. And there's a whole host of reasons for that. Now, we just saw that in China we had, what was it, 29 people were killed in a knife attack at a train station. I mean, you don't see them trying to control knives over there. So, what do we, anybody out there, if you have any questions or suggestions on what we could do to prevent something like this kid, from what I understand, was an orphan, and but I knew some kids in school, but they were adopted, and they never killed anybody. They never went off on a rampage like this. This kid obviously had some issues that somebody just missed. I mean, it is one of those really tough things on how do we prevent something like this, because there's always going to be that one person that we just didn't get to help them, and they go and do something like this. Also, another thing, there's this near instantaneous 24/7 media going on. You've got YouTube, you've got Facebook, you've got the news, and people want to be famous. So in this guy's twisted mind, like some of the other mass shooters, they want notoriety. And what's different about this guy? This guy survived. Some of the others survived, like Holmes. He shot up that theater. So how do we prevent something like that? Well, one of the things we can do is we have armed teachers and armed guards at the schools. Now I've been outside the country, and I've seen places where, I mean, you could go to a shopping mall, and they've got armed policemen there with they got their pistol, and some of them have their they have their firearms. Again, I'm trying not to sneeze. And they've got a metal detector you gotta go through, and maybe that's what's needed at these schools these days. So I don't know what we can do other than do preventive things. I mean, it's getting to be more like the airport now, where you gotta go through a metal detector, and you gotta pat down. I mean, what are we gonna do? Are we gonna start patting down these students as they come in, check their backpacks? I mean, it's getting scary out there. And arming teachers. I mean, if that football coach had a weapon on him, he could have taken down Cruz, and that would have been it. Then the casualty rate would have been a lot lower. Now, let's talk about that guy. That guy was truly a hero. He saved a lot of students by putting himself between the shooter and the kids. He got those kids back in the classroom, and he was shot as he was, trying to close the door. So, a gun ban is not an option. because we've got over 300 million firearms out there. There's no way you can go out there and confiscate every one of them. All you're going to do is disarm law-abiding people who need those weapons to protect their family and their property from the bad guys. Oh, dang. What a crappy time for all of a sudden my nose to start to run while I'm doing the show. So I will go as long as I can on this show, and I apologize again. I'm a little under the weather. I don't know if I got cold or an allergy or what, but we'll get through it. Alright, so let's jump into the next topic here. We're going to talk about some of the stupid things said at the Olympics. Alright, you guys know Shaun White. He's the famous snowboarder. He just won another gold medal, which is great. However, right after he won the gold medal, one of the yahoos from, I guess, NBC decided to go up and interview him. Instead of saying, hey, congratulations, how does it feel to win another gold medal, she has to bring up the sexual assault allegation that, well, it wasn't an allegation. He paid the person off. They settled this. There was no criminal charges laid against him. So it brought that up. It's like, come on. This kid worked for years to go back to the Olympics again. He was there a couple years ago. And now you're going to jump on him for that? It's like, really? This is old news. And then you got some of the, well, I won't talk about that because, I don't know the whole story about it, but that some of the gay athletes are squawking about something, but I guess, it just really makes me crazy. So, let's talk about another topic. I was talking about my hobby. Hopefully I can turn this into I'm going to turn it into a business, is drones. So if you look over here, you can probably see a couple of my drones here. I've got a DJI Phantom 3 Standard, and the black one is my Bugs 3 drone, and the black one, that's the one that is a lot of work there. It doesn't have GPS, so it really makes you work on your flying skills. Whereas the Phantom, that has GPS, really, it's pretty easy to fly, but you can still get yourself in a lot of trouble if you don't know what you're doing. For example, some of these people, they fly it too high and they lose signal and the darn thing crashes and it damages the camera. Now I buy these to fix up. Now this one needs a camera, and hopefully I get it to get flying. Problem is I can't get it to bind with the remote control, but that's another issue I will deal with. Alright, so here's another thing that I got in the mail. I've got a 4-piece filter kit. So if you want really good video quality on your drone, you got a filter kit. It comes with a polarizing filter and a couple of darker filters. So make sure videos look really good out there, so that when you go to edit, your photos or your videos are going to look really good. So I've been practicing with the little tiny drone. That's coming along pretty good, and I've been taking the remote 101 pilots courses and coming along on that. So once I finish that and feel confident enough to take the knowledge exam at Front Range Airport to get my Part 107 certification, once I get that, then I can start making money with my drone. And most of the money, or most of the work I'll probably be doing is for real estate companies to take video of the house or the building and the property surrounding. Another thing I could do is I could do time-lapse video of while the building is being built, which that'll be really interesting to do that. So they're just fun to fly, and for a little guy like me, you could do it as one person, but preferably you want to have 2 people, because the pilot has to have the remote, and they'll have either a tablet or their cell phone to see what the camera sees on the drone, and they gotta be able to pilot the drone, and you gotta have a spotter which will tell the operator, hey, there's a plane in the vicinity, or there are some obstacles you need to watch out for, like power lines and trees. So, and another cool thing to get is what's called a first person view, and there are goggles that you wear. You can either put your phone into them, or they're already set up to where you see what the camera sees, and you can fly that drone around. Oh, excuse me. And it is really cool. So, and then there are people that race these drones, and they wear those goggles, and it's kind of like watching those racing games on the computer or on your PS4 or Wii. It's kind of like that. So they're a lot of fun. Alright, well folks, I want to thank you for coming to Art's Place. Sorry it's not an hour-long show. I'm just feeling a little under the weather, and my nose is starting to run again. come back next week. We'll have another great show, and hopefully I'll be in better shape. So take care. Thank you very much for coming to the show. You have a nice weekend. Enjoy President's Day tomorrow, and see you next week. Bye-bye.
Welcome to Art's Place, conservative talk from a different view. From the Casablanca studio in Golden, Colorado. Hosted by Art Carlson. At 4'6", liberals fear him, and conservatives love him. He's definitely a giant among men. Now, here's your host, Art Carlson.